Hi, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mike Landa. I'm an online fitness coach and I focus on strength and mindset. And I've helped hundreds of people, men and women, get into the best shape of their lives. But I want you to know that I wasn't always an online fitness coach. Now I'm going to show you what my backstory is. And this entire presentation that I showed to my group, to my community, explains my story. I don't talk a lot about my story, and I know that it's something that is very important in order for me to show up in a way that people understand how I came up to become a coach and the things that I went through, the obstacles, the success, and everything in between. There's a lot more missing, there's small nuances, but this is a general story of how I became a coach, and I hope you enjoy. And if you get any value out of the mindset portion out of this presentation, I would really appreciate any comments. And if you like, I would love for you to subscribe, comment, and like the video so that way you can get notifications when I am live again. I'll see you in the video.
Welcome to this group call. This one's going to be kind of like not a repetitive group call, but we're talking about identity. And I've mentioned it in a couple of other group calls because it's something that comes up often for a lot of people. And I am talking about a little bit about my story because I thought it's a good time. So that way you all kind of know me a little bit. Otherwise, I'm just a coach to you, and that's not my identity. So anyway, I call this one losing yourself to find yourself. So I should have put like a picture of Eminem there with that would have been, never mind. Bad meme. Anyway, so this is called the decision that changed everything. So if you guys have any questions, by the way, drop them in the chat. Like, I'm a slut for the chat. We like the chat. It works. Cool. So the decision that changed everything. So I don't know if y'all have watched The Butterfly Effect. It's the best fucking movie on the planet. If you have not watched it, go watch it. Ashton Kutcher, peak performance. Anyway, every decision creates a ripple effect. The butterfly effect, right? If you don't know what the butterfly effect is, we'll kind of go into it. But a single choice has the power to shift your entire reality. One single choice. That's why the multiverse and parallel universes exist, right? So let's say, think back to who you were 2 to 3 years ago. Maybe struggling with mental health, finances, relationships, or your identity. And then you made one decision one day, and that brought you to where you are today, for better or for worse, right? You are just a compound of all the decisions you've ever made up until this point. And for me, that decision was fitness itself and coaching. And fitness didn't always have a purpose. It was just kind of fitness, right? Some people feel like it's kind of redundant, like they just kind of go through the motions. So it didn't have a purpose for me, but it was a direction without meaning, basically. Like I was going somewhere, I just didn't know what I was meant to do with it or what I was doing with it at all. So this is who I was before coaching. I always kind of wanted to be a fitness influencer. So I'd watch Christian Guzman and Max Tuning and other fitness YouTube stars. I don't know if you know them, but they're like super successful now and whatnot. And I would always think, why not me, right? They vlog themselves and they just like pull up in random areas in public and they just be like, okay, cool. Just film themselves. And they became super successful, right? Christian Guzman is now the owner of like Alpha Elite, if you don't know that brand, or Alpha Land, the gym that's here in Houston, and a couple of other brands like energy drink brand and so on. So anyway, they all became super successful, but I never took that leap, and that regret still kind of lingers. And maybe there's a version of me out there who did it, right? Maybe in some parallel universe, who knows, who tried to take the leap, took the leap of faith, and took that path. But I'm here, and that path didn't happen. Instead, I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree and stepped into the world of aerospace. Boeing, Raytheon, the Navy for a couple years, kind of all over the place. That was me in 2017. My dad's in the Air Force. So that's kind of mainly where I got my background for like wanting to get into engineering. I was like, I guess I have to be good at math and science. I mean, my dad's in the Air Force and I want to impress him. And I want to be like pride. I want to show up in a way that impresses my family, because that's a very It's not just prominent in Hispanic culture, but it's very like you have to show up for the masculine side of the family. So anyway, the void. Even with a comfortable salary and security, I felt a void that no paycheck or promotion could ever fill. Every morning, I would wake up with a pit in my stomach, knowing I was just a cog in the system, especially working in the Navy, dude. It's the worst. So anyway, I'd go to the same desk, talk to the same numbing people, do the same work, and feel drained at the end. Life became a repetitive loop of working, numbing out by drinking or partying, and then pretending to be grateful. Right? Like, oh, this is the life that you should live, right? This is the standard that everyone should live. I'm doing the right things. And I knew I was basically wasting time that I could never get back, right? Those 5 years just kind of flew by and I can never get them back. But I wouldn't take it back because that's what taught me what I don't want to do. So I was looking for a way out. Around COVID, I became obsessed with finding a way out, pouring hours into learning options trading, which is basically the stock market, drop shipping, which is another form of like basically selling goods on eBay and stuff like that, flipping them for a profit. I would also flip cars because I work on cars. So I thought, oh, I can turn this hobby into somewhat of a business. And that was very laborious and draining as well. Anything that might offer some freedom and not help me get out of, or just basically help me get out of engineering. None of these things were failures because all of them worked. And so they basically like none of these things were failures because I was lazy, right? I wasn't lazy. I worked really hard and I made all of these things work. But they failed because they weren't aligned with who I was deep down, right? I know that dropshipping was just fucking me staring at a screen and trying to push a bunch of buttons and not really doing anything. Flipping cars, I was just cussing at cars. And then options trading, I was stressed the fuck out of my mind. It took trying and failing multiple paths to finally realize that alignment, not effort, was the missing piece the whole time. So then I saw an ad. This is around the time that Instagram had ads. One day, an Instagram ad from my first business coach named Zach Colburn about fitness coaching kept popping up over and over again, almost like the universe refusing me to let me ignore it, right? This is Zach on the top right. He just moved here to Austin, so we hang out a lot, and I thank him consistently for like showing me how to do what I do today, because he was like that first decision, that ripple effect, the butterfly effect. My logical brain kicked in, researched Zach because I like to overanalyze everything like every engineer does, and then find another coach named Tanner Chidster, analyzing, comparing, and trying to predict which one was the right one. This is Tanner. I also jumped on a call with him, compared, contrasted, did a bunch of spreadsheet analysis. It was dumb. No reason. And I was looking for a guarantee that this would work because I didn't trust myself, right? I was looking for like, I remember the first thing that Zach said to me, he was like, the guy that you talked to, he said that you were the most over analytical person that he's ever met. And I was like, oh, that's probably true. Because I was asking for guarantees, refunds. Would this work for me? How can you promise this? I didn't know how else to like trust myself or really dial in on the work that needed to be done in order for me to be successful. But then I realized I have to become the guarantee. You, yourself, me, myself, everyone in here, you have to become the guarantee. There are always two types of people, right? People that look for a guarantee in a program that will work, or people that become the guarantee. You either become who you're meant to be and project yourself into the future to bring all those habits and all those lifestyles and those identities into the now, or you look for something outside of you to guarantee that you'll be successful. And no one can ever guarantee success. Otherwise, everyone would be successful. So I took a leap of faith. Zach's program was about 7K. Tanner was about 12K. I had about 3 to 4K saved, which was the most I ever had saved in my life at one point, just from engineering. And I took a leap of faith, maxed out my savings, set up a payment plan, and made a decision that terrified me, but also set me free. I felt something different that day, and I don't know how to explain it to this day. I'll try to, maybe at the end of this call, but August 28th, this is supposed to be 2022, not 2023. I get my years mixed up all the time. August 28th, but the date is right for sure because I have a anniversary in my calendar. Became the day everything changed. The identities I had around being a failure were dead. The engineer my parents wanted was dead. The fear of never completing a program or project because I would get to the end and say that's good enough, that person is also dead. And I went all in like it was college, right? For me, I became a student again, and that felt very fulfilling. I attended every group call. I asked a lot of fucking questions, attended every office hour, studying late at night. There's a big course, all of it. I did everything. And I wasn't just learning information. Like I wasn't just sitting there trying to learn. I was rewiring who I was brick by brick, discipline by discipline, and just really dialing in who I wanted to be. And that was enough. So that takes time. Rewiring who you are now starts with one decision. And for the first time in years, I woke up excited to build something that wasn't mine, not someone else's. And that felt very freeing. Something I could build and call my own. So there's the evolution. The first investment opened the door into self-development. So basically, my business coach opened the door into self-development. And then I invested into 2 more coaches. I invested into a conscious leadership coach. Basically, his name is Nick Medina, and he basically helps coaches and leaders become better by doing inner work and as a priority before serving to their communities or to their people, right? People in the service industry. So that's why we're focused on mindset and what I do. And like when I ask you guys questions and stuff like that. And then I also invested into a bodybuilding coach named Chad Morgan, who put me into the trenches with my clients, basically. So this is Nick. You can look him up, Nick Medina. Really good content. He lives in Austin too. And Chad Morgan, great coach. Talk to him all the time. He got me through my first show. And then I realized that truth growth doesn't happen in business or in the gym. It actually happens spiritually, mentally, emotionally when you fully commit. I committed to all 3 of these programs all at once, and it was a fuck ton, right? I would not recommend it to anyone unless you're really ready to dial in on yourself and see a change. Actually, that's a lie. I would recommend it to some people. It just depends on the personality. Because me, I'm like hyper fixated. If I hyper fixate on something, I will go all in on that and then allow it to take me where it needs to take me. And every dollar I spent, every minute I dedicated to my mentors was a brick laid in the foundation of the person I was becoming. So here's some bodybuilding lessons, quick little fitness. So that was a show. Bodybuilding prep was brutal, forcing me to confront demons I didn't even know I realized I had, like demons that were buried. There were no shortcuts in prep, no distractions, no room for excuses. It's just me, my hunger, my doubt, and the quiet voice inside you asking if you're good enough. A lot of doubt came up in that prep, and yeah, I had to deal with a lot. But regardless, it basically stripped away a lot of the external identity that I had clung on to, leaving only raw willpower, discipline, and a deeper understanding of who I really was and what I really wanted to do with 1, my business, and 2, me as an individual and who I wanted to show up as. So complacency. So it wasn't failure that scared me. It was staying the same, slowly suffocating under the weight of my own potential. And this is why I made the decision. Delaying and complacency aren't neutral. They are enemies that rob you of your time, energy, and future, right? Delaying complacency can be you delaying a decision, you delaying, procrastinating anything, putting it off to the side because you're distracted, you're doom scrolling, or you're going out with friends, or you want to go do something that doesn't really serve you. In complacency, they're basically the same thing, but it's more of the action. So every day I showed up even when it felt invisible, because I trusted that the exponential growth happens when no one's watching, right? I saw this piece of content once. It's like, you're going to work in the background for years and no one's going to notice. And then one day you're going to show up and everyone's going to think the success happened overnight, or your transformation happened overnight, or your new identity shifts that happened overnight. people don't really pay attention to the small bricks that you lay up until the point that like shit actually happens, right? It all happens so fast. So I put myself into the trenches. I know what it's like to feel stuck, tired, scared of gaining weight, scared of not being good enough. Because I lived it every day during prep and before prep too, when I joined programs and stuff like that. That's why I coach clients. When I coach clients, it's different. I'm not handing you a plan behind a desk, although it may seem like it. I'm walking through the fire with you, or I have walked through the fire with you. I serve from the trenches, not the sidelines, like, you know, some overweight coaches in fucking football and stuff like that. I want to help you create a lasting transformation. So that's why this program is different. This isn't just another 12-week shredded program like you find online. You can go to Shreds if you want to get that program. This is a transformational container where your identity, your mindset, your body, and all the energy evolve together all at once. And for some people, that's too overwhelming. And for some people, that's exactly what they need. So the people that have joined have seen exactly that. Obviously, you see the physical transformations, but it's more than just physical. I don't coach macros. I coach humans who are actually ready to rewrite their story and reclaim their power and proclaim it as well. My clients don't just lose fat. You guys just don't lose fat. You find yourselves again, right? Like you come into this program, I've talked to a lot of you and you find yourselves in a different part of life where you're shifting so much that it's questionable and a lot of demons start to come up and you start to question things. And then we talk through it and I help you. So while you're here, maybe you're standing at your own crossroads right now. The crossroads are not directional though. They're identity based. Thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions, right? Those 4 things, this is all energy, right? So this is where we're going to get away from my story and go into more identity stuff like we mentioned in the beginning of the call. We're going to talk about identity. So that way, this is more so about you. So I guess pay attention because I'm going to try and make a lot of analogies here. So yeah. So right, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions. This is all energy, right? Comes from you. So these thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions create an energetic signature, correct? Cool. So then we can say the universe, source, or God, or whatever you want to believe in, is inherently abundant, meaning it gives you more of what you already are. So if the universe is inherently abundant, meaning like it just is abundant, it gives you more of what you are. So the universe doesn't label anything as good or bad. It just is, right? The weather is as it is. The universe is as it is. Everything that lives outside of us is as it is. It's neither good or bad. It's just part of the cycles of life, I guess you could say. So same thing with you. You are as you are. So if you are constantly thinking about scarcity, losing money, losing people, being alone, not accomplishing your goals, guess what? That's your energetic signature. That's the signals you're sending out into the universe, right? You can think of yourself as a beacon, sending out this energetic signature. So the universe will always provide generously because it is abundant, right? We just said that the universe is inherently abundant. It's going to give you more of what you already are or an energetic match for. So if you're always thinking glass half full rather than, or sorry, other way around. If you're thinking always glass half empty and being pessimistic and negative or scarce, self-conscious, not confident, all that stuff, you're just going to get more of that, especially when you're trying to make a change. So then we go into cycles. So your energetic signature is one of your identities, just one of them. Let's say if you have a habit of joining a program and not executing, listening to motivational videos just to get started, starting something and stopping after a couple of weeks, asking for advice and not listening and then just going back to old habits anyway, or jumping on calls with different coaches and not taking action because a lot of people like to mentally masturbate. I've been with a lot of those people. This is your subconscious energetic signature. That is your cycle, which is pulling you back into that cycle itself. right? You're learning, you're not learning, but you're stuck in this loop that you can't get out of because you have no one to pull you out of it, or you have no one to call you out. And then you become addicted to the emotions the old habits bring, even though they make you feel horrible. Years of anxiety and scarcity and self-decaying thoughts, that creates a tolerance, right? You get used to that. That becomes your new normal. So whenever you try and make a change or you pull away from it, you get withdrawals, right? Like a crack addict, like a meth addict. I don't know how else to explain it, but that was excessive. But you get withdrawals and you go back into old habits. Your subconscious is very much the same thing. It doesn't know anything outside of that normal. So this is why I couldn't let go of engineering for 5 years. The addiction of feeling stable in my own bubble and never having to work on myself, that's great. I fucking love that. Everyone loves that. I don't actually love that now. I'm just saying, I was being sarcastic. So, but back then, I didn't want to work on myself. Like, I just wanted to go drink on the weekends and party with my friends and make a paycheck to do so, and then come back and then go to this decaying job and do it all over again. So when you consciously want to break free, your body will keep score. There's a book on this. You should read it. It's called Your Body Will Keep. Yeah, Your Body Keeps the Score, or something like that. And subconsciously try to bring you back because it is familiar to your mind and your body. And this is how your mind keeps you safe, right? That was probably a lot, but basically, whenever you try and make a change, you're going to come back to old habits because familiarity, even though familiarity isn't always quote unquote safe, it is just familiar. So, but because it is safe doesn't mean it's good or bad. I just got ahead of myself. The same way the universe doesn't label or negate energetic signatures, safe just means that your old identities and what is familiar, right? Safe is just understanding that what you used to go through in your old cycle isn't good or bad. It is just what you know. Therefore, whenever you try and make a change and you don't stick to that change, then your energetic signature is giving quitting or unworthiness or feeling not good enough or feeling unconfident. And it goes back because that's what it knows. It can't go forward because it doesn't know any of that. So for example, if you grew up being told you're a failure, seeing chaotic relationships like your parents, family, and friends, or you're always in high stress environments, you will subconsciously seek those things every time you try to depart from those things, right? That's why people go back to toxic relationships, or people always, when they're bored, they're always going to try and do something that's like super high adrenaline rush. Or if you're being told that you're a failure and you're accomplishing something and you're seeing success, then you're going to find a way to make sure that you are still considered a failure, which is really fucked up. But your subconscious gets a kink out of that. So let's ask yourself, which identities hold your power? So trauma is trauma. It's all subjective. Now, follow along here, okay? This is just an analogy. A child that gets their lollipop stolen can experience the same trauma as someone who sees death in front of them. Now, there's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum to this shit. Maybe the child getting the lollipop stolen is on the end of the spectrum where it's like little t trauma. And then someone who sees death is big T trauma that has to work through more. But your subconscious still experiences it the same, right? It is still a core wound. The scale and intensity is different, and the body experiences it the same. But why? Your mind and body will create beliefs, identities, and versions of you that hold your power to choose to do better or become better, right? Basically, what that means is your body and your mind are going to create beliefs and identities in order for you to adapt to the situation. That's how humans have evolved for fucking millennia. We have adapted to situations, right? All the way from hunter-gatherer to where we're at now. We have adapted. So we've had to create a lot of identities and beliefs in order to get to where we are today. So, an example. Let's say you were held to high standards that you couldn't meet in school and you were called dumb. criticized, requiring perfectionism, or trying to feel approved by parents. What happens is this is someone that never believes in themselves. They don't really become independent. They can't trust themselves with their execution of fear of judgment, or they can't take action without everything being aligned because not everything is perfect, or they're feeling like they're going to be judged because they're going to be called dumb again. We call this person the perfectionist. Or you're a caregiver at a young age, right? Maybe mom wasn't there, dad wasn't there, and you have to care for your siblings. What happens is you become a person that wears a sleeve on their arm and pours from an empty cup, disregarding their needs for emotional stability. We call this person the rescuer. Or maybe you were experiencing betrayal and dishonesty. What happens is you stay single for a really long time, or super anxious around being alone, or even isolating and thinking that they can do things on themselves with zero help because they don't trust anyone. We call this person the controller. Tries to control everything, control everyone, because they've seen dishonesty and distrust. Or maybe someone that's gone through severe burnout trying to transform their physique because it must feel overwhelming and hard and all-consuming. What happens is this person gets stuck in an all or nothing mindset, afraid to try anything new because it all leads to burnout. Keto, carnivore, you have to work out 7 days a week. You have to be tracking macros. You have to be eating a gram per pound of, well, all that shit, right? And you're always comparing themselves to their good old days, right? Maybe like someone in high school got super overweight and they're always comparing themselves to the good old days because they tried to do all the work that you know, when you're young, you can go through a little bit of burnout and your body will adapt, but over time that starts to catch up. Anyway, we call this person the burnout victim. They're always like a victim of their own circumstances because they always do too much. You can honestly take military people or veterans, for example, because I know a lot, my dad being one of them, where they do the fucking most and they try and do the military diet. They work out a fuck ton. They lift heavy weights with no regard for good recovery, low sleep, high caffeine, and they try and continue doing that, right? And they don't eat enough. Or do people hold your power? So there's obviously experiences and you that hold your power, identities. And there's things outside of you like people. So I guess you can journal on this. When you see a person's name pop up on your phone, does your heart pound or your fist? Do they start to clench? When you think about someone from the past or present, does your nervous system feel dysregulated or on edge? When we experience this dysregulation from hearing and seeing another person's name, face, or memorabilia, this person has your power. They are in full control of your mind and your nervous system, and ultimately your identities you've created. It's crazy to think, right? So mom, dad, siblings, whoever in your life, past relationship, whatever, teachers, these people are holding your power because they have created an identity around you. They've helped you create an identity around you that you still present. And when you present it, that validates them saying like, hey, that's something that I helped you create subconsciously, right? They don't actually say that, but it's not their fault though. We must take responsibility. And I will say this over and over and over again, because if you keep blaming other people, you're always going to be in the victimhood mindset. Don't blame them. They didn't know better, and neither did you. But it's your responsibility to work through it, because otherwise you're going to be called the burnout victim. So we're going to make a full loop around the identity butterfly effect. Do you need somebody to hurt you to give you closure for them hurting you? Like, do you need someone who actually hurt you and physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, spiritually, do you need them to say sorry, basically? Do you need their acknowledgement to validate your own pain? Was your experience of that pain not enough to provide it to you? You experienced the pain. Why do you need them to say sorry for it? Or basically say that they did hurt you? Like, you already know that they hurt you. Why do you need for them to tell you? Maybe both parties know. Maybe the other party doesn't. Regardless, you know that you have the pain. It's there. That doesn't change that. So this is lack. And what lack means that you're lacking something outside of you or within you, because you're basically, you need this person, right? Like, you need this person and you need them to say, or you need yourself to say, I need you to validate me so I can go back and experience this familiar cycle again and feel worthy, right? You want them to validate you. So that way, you know that, like, oh, thank you for saying sorry. That makes me feel so good. But the pain is still there. Like, you haven't dealt with it, right? The bandage, that doesn't do anything. It's not them you need validation from. You need it from yourself, from the identity you've created out of the experience. Think of it as a butterfly effect. And again, if you have not watched this movie, go watch it. Go watch it. So every experience is a pocket of time, which has a key moment. You can call them canon events, as in the fucking TikTok realm. These canon events, right? So if that moment were altered, we get a whole different reality, a different identity, different beliefs, right? Basically, Spider-Man multiverse type shit. Want to make sure I try to make this in layman's terms. Basically, like old Mike with the dreams to become a YouTube fitness star. Maybe that Mike actually took a chance. Who knows? That was a pocket of time where I could have took that chance. I still remember those pockets of time. Maybe you do too. Or the old Mike that chose college over starting his own business. I remember that too. I remember that decision where I felt unsure of even choosing I changed my major like 3 times, by the way. It was still engineering, but it wasn't like mechanical. It was bioengineering, then chemical, and then mechanical, because it was hard. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So same thing with, business in general. I did a bunch of other shit. But anyway, the old you that is choosing to stay in the familiar right now because it's too late. It's never too late to do anything. So there's new levels and new devils. Facing your old identity is part of healing. Your demons are part of you. I'll repeat that. Your demons are a part of you. You are not here to fight your fucking demons. You are here to befriend them. People are so like, oh, I gotta fight. I'm fighting demons, bro. I can't go out tonight. Or you need to befriend your demons. Talk to them. Because after all, your demons are going to be with you forever, whether you like it or not. You can bury them as deep as you want. They're always going to come back. You might as well be friends with them, because even Satan was an angel once. If you remove the labels, you'll find the layers and identities you're looking for. Remember that the universe does not label anything as good or bad. Doesn't label as anything as good or bad. Everything is as it is. So it took years for me to get to this it took years to get to this undesired and unconscious place before you started your fitness journey, right? So compounding years of shit food, bad habits, shitty mindsets, unhealthy coping mechanisms, and so on. Now we're here to reverse it. And honestly, it can take just as long as it did to end up here. Like, for example, if it took 3 years to get fat, it could take 3 years to undo it. If you do better than that, great. You get a gold star. A lot of people do better. A lot of people stay in the same cycle. But there's good news. You have support. You have awareness now that you're in this community. And you obviously have community to peel back these layers so you can fully see yourself, which accelerates the process. Because being fully seen means accepting rejection. And what that means is, if I show up as my full self and they judge me, then they actually hate me, not this fake ass version of that I created, right? So when you're in this container, we pull back all the identities, all the layers as much as we can, and you show up as you. I don't have any way, shape, or I have no judgment for you. You are as you are. I am, you can see me as a friend, but I'm not going to have the same beliefs and system or same beliefs and thoughts about you as your best friend or your family member or that toxic relationship that you had or whatever, or your current partner. So what does your subconscious do? It brings back old habits to test you, sends out small energetic signatures of scarcity, lack, shame, guilt, fear, etc. So here's a journal question that you can do. Take a screenshot if you would like, but there's one more question. Who am I without all this trauma? Who am I without this pattern of scarcity, lack, shame, guilt, and fear? Like, who am I? And if you label yourself when you're answering this question, you're doing it wrong. Just so you know. And then what would your life look like without it? How would you feel? Oh, I'll go back if you want to take a screenshot. My bad. I'll give you like 10 seconds. Take a screenshot if you want. All right, cool. Identify the stories. Trauma is a rite of passage. You must experience dark to understand light. You must experience depression to experience joy. There is no in between. Otherwise, that's complacency. And we don't like being there. It is our responsibility to process trauma before it becomes trauma. Like, this is little t trauma. This is big T trauma, all capitals, the real shit. And the stories that you've created from your experiences and trauma are created it out of unconscious programming, meaning they are created when you weren't really aware of what was happening. And now that they're programmed into your subconscious, you have to deal with it. Now that you're becoming aware, it is your responsibility to stop reading the book that is your life, pick up the fucking pen, and start writing it. You can choose your inner words wisely and create the stories you wish to live because you already created the stories you're living now. You can create the stories again. So here's a thank you and the final message. Your butterfly effect starts today, right here, right now. If you're watching this call on the recording, same for you. Thank you for trusting me with your time today. Thank you for being open to a new possibility for yourself. And whether you win or not, you're walking away with more clarity and a deeper knowing that your life can shift with one choice. And here's a big ass quote. This is something from my mentor told me. Well, this is something from Zach. And more so like something that I put together with Zach and Nick. As Zach told me this in a different word, but I got it more so from Nick, which is my first consciousness leadership coach. Anyway, maybe this journey isn't about becoming anything. Maybe this journey is about unbecoming everything that isn't you. So you can finally be who you were meant to be. Life is truly subtractive when you think about it. You're not trying to add good habits. You're trying to remove the shitty habits that you've accumulated over the course of the years to replace them with good habits. You're trying to subtract all the layers of you that you thought you were and identities that you've added to protect yourself to become who you're finally meant to be. And a lot of you are going through that. And that's beautiful. And you will continue going through it. So embrace it. Because there's always going to be demons. This is like an endless fucking layer. It's like an endless onion. We're all endless onions of just peeling back these fucking layers and trying to uncover what identity was under that identity that you just uncovered. So, welcome. Anyway, that's the end. How did we like this? I'll stop presenting. Or actually, I'll leave it if you guys want. If you guys have any feedback, that'd be great. If you guys have any questions, concerns? Guy and Branton, I know you guys were here for this call. for the scholarship. So I don't know if you guys got like any extra nuggets hearing it a second time. I kind of did, but I don't know if y'all did.
Hello, Mike. I think
Hi,
what
Andrew.
resonated with me the most on this call is like I've been going through it a lot, and I think we talked about it on our individual call, which is like I don't know why I felt like having those apologies from people, whether it's from childhood trauma that they didn't know they created in my life, or just trauma in general that they created. Like even getting some of the sorries or the apologies or the acceptance that they potentially impacted my life in like a negative way, it was great to hear, but ultimately you're right, it doesn't really give you anything that you didn't already have before, other than like maybe clarity that they see it. And for me it was really helpful to kind of know that like at the end of the day, if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today, to potentially help me become, and maybe those experiences that I had in my life really were meant to happen to help me become who I'm supposed to be. So
Yeah.
it's great to kind of hear and resonate with. And like I said, even going through this journey of like trying to fight some of the demons, if you would, not fight. I know we're not fighting, but to
Yeah.
acknowledge some of the demons that kind of pop back up, that those self-doubting ones, the ones that don't see myself in that positive light, acknowledging them and just kind of figuring out why I'm having those thoughts again. Because at the end of the day, I think we hear it all the time, we're our biggest critics. And I'm learning, I guess, this week to just give myself some more grace. So it was good to hear. And that quote that you put up at the end is like, that's going to be my quote of the year, I think.
Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. When you focus on understanding that, like, yeah, the experiences happen to you in order for you to become who you are today. So, like I said earlier in the slide deck, it was for better or for worse, right? Initially, it was for the worse. Like those experiences cause maybe some identities that you didn't necessarily want to create, but they were created out of the experience in order for you to survive. Now that you're aware of them and you're working through them, it's like learning to not fight those identities and demons, but also working through them consistently, because they will pop up, and integrating them into parts of your life that they can work in, right? Like, for example, I wanted to kill the identity of me being a car guy because I was flipping cars for a long time, like a year and a half or so. And I'm also into cars, and it's a hard part. And then for like, I would say basically all of 2022 up until last year, I have had like a shitty daily driver, just like a regular old car, because I used to have like a bunch of project cars and fun cars and spend a lot of money on cars. And I wanted to kill that identity of me. Like Mike, the car guy, doesn't exist anymore. But now it's more so, now I'm integrating it back into my life, and I'm navigating that myself. And it's more so like understanding how this new part of me is going to integrate into where I'm at now. Because it wasn't a bad part of my life, it was just an obsessive part of my life, and I don't want it to be obsessive. So it's more so of a degree of which you want to experience your old identities to. Like you have the volume knob for those identities, if that makes sense. You can turn them down as much as you need to. Does that make sense? Was that a shitty
Yeah.
analogy? No.
No, that was good. I was also going to say like something else you made me just think of is like, I think something else we often look for in those apologies or in those explanations from people is like their approval almost. Like I'm looking for my dad's approval or acceptance of me, but like his lack of acceptance made me who I am today. Like I would never be the version of me I am today to be maybe open to other people or ideas if it wasn't for experiencing that like rejection at a younger age. So like I often take those, I don't want to take those things for granted either. Like I look at them as bad experiences in my life, but ultimately they're not. Like it was just a moment in time that was difficult. But if we zoom out of that a little bit more, it kind of, I'm really grateful that I had those experiences, even if they were traumatic. So
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're healing those parts because, you know, you've talked to your dad, right? And now you're both aware of kind of like hindsight what happened. So now it's more so, it's even better where both of you understand, you're on the same page. Like, oh, that wasn't meant to happen, but it did out of programming. So yeah, dude, I'm glad you're working through those things. You can do hearts. That's cool. Gerardo, what's up, brother? Okay, you did a lot in the chat, bro. You want to come off mute and say it? Or I can read it for you. Because this is good. It looks really solid. Whatever you wrote. You were seeing, or are you at work? I think you might be at work. He said, "Thank you for this, Mike. I bought the book that you mentioned, Body Keeps a Score, which I am going to start reading today. He said I'm at work. Yep, that makes sense. I often work with students about unlearning behaviors that may get them into trouble, never realize it becoming the person that produces those behaviors. Yeah. I often tell myself I'm a stress eater and people pleaser. These identities that I have adapted to over time are not me. Therefore, I'm becoming them. I was proud of my workout yesterday. Fuck yeah, dude. There you go. Okay. So these labels and like stress eater, people pleaser, stuff like that, those hold your power. So you can work through that. Let's see. I took the feeling of inadequate or mentally tired that was telling me not to go to the gym, but I didn't listen, and I went to the gym even though I didn't want to be there. Beautiful, dude. And this is you creating basically good dopamine at the gym for you showing up, because when you do those hard things, there's parts of your brain that get a little hit of like, ah, shit, I did that even though it was hard and I didn't give in. So if you continue leaning into that, you're gonna basically create more so another identity that's a little bit more positive, helping you stay consistent. So continue with that for sure. That's beautiful. I'm glad you came on while you're at work, so I appreciate that. Because a lot of people say like, oh, I'm at work and I can't listen. Well, you came. So another hard thing that you did. So there you go. Anyone else have any reflections? Sky, did you get anything else out of this since you're here the second time?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it really resonated with me today when you said that like there's little things that we do to get to where we want to be, and then out of nowhere things happen, and that's when people are like, oh, like you really like put in work to get to where you want. And I feel like I've been doing that for so long now, just planting those little seeds. And I feel like this program really helps me kind of like close that cycle, like the missing piece of the puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
to where it's not just working on becoming better, but being better yourself
Yes.
as an individual. And whenever you accept that, it really transforms your aspect and your view of life overall.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful for you, Mike. And I've told you this multiple times, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of saying it to you, because you do this because you care and not just because you're trying to get money out of it. Like, you really transform your life. I really appreciate
Appreciate you too. Thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does. And yeah, I mean, I do this because I've been through the trenches, so I know what it's like. So I just want to give back more than anything, as much as I can, to those that want to actually make a change. I appreciate you taking all the nuggets and running with it, because you're the one that's actually executing. Like I'm just here to guide and give you words of advice and give you a plan in a nutshell. But I'm glad you're taking everything and running with it.
Of course. Like I said, it was like that missing piece of the puzzle. So.
Yeah. Yeah. You're changing a lot. So I love seeing all your growth too. Does anyone else have any other reflections? Esme, Ali, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I will say this was a good presentation. It was good to hear a little bit more about your backstory. I think it's really interesting because as somebody who also went to college, and it took a good minute before I found the job that I'm at currently, and then even with my whole job search now, it's definitely a challenge in itself. But like I was telling you on our call last week when I had my whole thing with my scripts, I definitely had to just, sit down and actually just put something together because it's like it's not I wasn't just thinking because normally as I told you before my like default is to just just stop because it's like I'd already put in so much work just to I already had the script done, sat there and did however many revisions of it. I finally got the shot list and I was like this close to be done with the storyboard and then that last minute having to change up everything. But it's like I already had things set with other people, so I can't just only think about myself. I definitely had to think about all the people that were working with me, like they're taking time out of their day to actually like help me on my project. I mean, we're not necessarily getting paid for it just yet. That's something that we're kind of building towards as we put these little projects together. So it was definitely something that I like needed to do, and it's definitely something I'm noticing the change within myself to actually like kind of push myself to actually do what I'm saying I'm gonna do. Like today, my plan was to do the laundry, change my bed sheets, and actually write one of the script ideas that I've been like mulling over for the past like couple of days. So before that, I was getting on this call, and before I ate my dinner, I was working on it a little bit, so that eventually, like my team and I, we can actually kind of sit there and like film it, so that I can eventually post it.
Nice, dude. So it's mainly, I guess, what was your story around that? Like,
Just basically like how you sat down and like you really grinded to get where you really wanted to be. So by me doing like all these scripts and like doing all this filming, it's me working towards this eventually becoming something that is not just like a hobby. It's more so like an everyday kind of job.
got it. Okay. So the first part resonated with you mainly, how I took the leap of faith and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Cool. Maybe this program can be like that for, because everyone when they first start a program and then like invest in themselves, right? It's always that little itch that they get. Some people get the itch, some people don't. I got the itch, and that's when I continued investing, and like that's where growth happens. So if investing into like a theater coach or a mentor of some sort that can help you get better at what you're doing, even though technically you went to school for this, right? What you're doing right now.
Yeah, I went to school for broadcasting, so it's like within the same realm. But a lot of the guys that I work with at work, they actually did more so like a film kind of program. So like I was telling my friend the other day, because I didn't necessarily do like a writing kind of class. Mind you, one of our classes was supposed to be for writing, but we didn't do anything like really pertaining to it. I had maybe one class that that we had to build our own show that kind of touched on a little bit, but in terms of that, it wasn't really something I was doing. So when I went over one of my coworkers' house to work on another project, he had like a couple books for like script writing and another one for just like how to go about when you're filming. And the books really break down everything. So I immediately just bought those books. And anytime I'm writing something, I'm always referencing them so that I have a better idea on like what I'm doing.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. I do the same. I mean, I take a bunch of notes when I'm in mentorships, and then I always reference them whenever I need to make changes or even make these slides or just kind of create new programs in general. So yeah, continue learning like that. It'll help. Ali or Esme, you guys have any reflections?
As of right now, I do, but just want to keep it right now a little private.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, we
yeah.
can talk about it later.
Mhm.
No worries. Allie. She might be driving or something. Okay. She said same here. Got it. Okay. Well, we can always talk about it, guys, if you want. Gerardo's also a broadcasting major. Dope. There you go, dude. Nice. Now you know. Gerardo and Jeff. There you go. Well, regardless, guys, I appreciate you guys being here and just listening. I need to talk about what I used to do in the background to kind of help people understand where I came from, and then kind of understanding how it could help you with your identity and stuff like that. So if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything down the road, or if you want to journal on those questions that I gave, let me know. Or you should journal on them, and then we can talk about it on our call. But appreciate y'all being here. I'll let y'all go. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll see y'all in the chat. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.